You're now listening to Mark Who 42 from the Whoniverse and beyond.
I'm Mr. Impale from Penny Live, and you are listening to Mark Who 42.
Reading is fun, but I know a lot of you out there don't have a lot of time to spare to read. But you do drive your car to go from place to place, and that's why you should get audiobooks. Audiobooks like the ones they have at Audible. Hi, I'm Mark Baumgarten, host of Mark Who 42. If you are interested in reading fiction, non-fiction, Doctor Who titles, Audible has 180,000 titles, actually more than that, for you to choose from to get your reading done in an auditorial fashion. Go to audibletrial.com/markwho42 and get a free month's membership plus a free download. And you can download any audiobook that's on their site. So go to audibletrial.com/markwho42 and take advantage of this free offer. If you enjoy your audiobook, you can stay with them and only pay $14.95 a month. You'll get another download, and you'll be, again, a member of them, where you'll be able to get low rates on Audible books. So, once again, go to audibletrial.com/markwho42 and read. Or rather, listen. That's a good Doctor Who phrase. Listen. Thanks, Mr. Impany. Big fan of the show. Welcome to Mark Who 42 here on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me today are...
Patricia Freyre.
And her husband, Eduardo M. Freyre.
Oh, you're back with us again, aren't you, Ed? That's interesting.
Well, see, you won't let me leave.
I won't let you leave. Yeah, well, yeah, see you next week.
I was trying to get out the door, and you just grabbed me.
I dragged you back, yeah.
I've been in the closet this entire week. Somebody help!
Trish, he's been in the closet? That may be worrying to you.
Well, we might have to talk about that later.
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's a discussion there.
We also have our new co-host. He is a member. Well, he's not a member. He's the founder of the Ken Spivey band, which has been. Well, let him talk about it. Ken Spivey.
Hi, as you just heard, my name is Ken Spivey. I play in easily the most popular Doctor Who band that's currently active in at least the eastern United States, if not the world. I run in the state of Florida the most popular and best attended Doctor Who festival, and I've appeared at Dragon Con and MegaCon and every con on the Southeast over the past 10 years. And I've done everything except for be a co-host on a podcast.
Well,
so it's exciting to be here.
You've just entered that zone, Ken. You are now a co-host of a podcast. So today's show is going to be a little different for those who have listened to our show. We are going to start doing shows that are opinionated again. We used to do these in the old days, especially with Ed and Trish. We used to do this years ago. We still have our interview shows, but we're also going to have op-eds. And we had an article we posted on our website on January 10th by our website editor, Michelle Turner. And I thought that we definitely should discuss this article because it definitely is it's important, and it's very, very true in certain ways. The opinion is things Whovians should stop arguing about. Now, first let me apologize to those who don't like the word Whovians. We actually got some response saying, I don't like myself being called a Whovian. Well, I hate to say it, we're Whovians. The name was come up with, and we use it. So if you don't like being called a Whovian, you can be a Doctor Who fan.
What do they want to be called? Is just a Doctor Who fan?
They want to be called a Doctor Who fan. But that's too many syllables and too many words. Whovians is right there. I mean, do you have a comment on that? Do you guys like the word Whovians?
Well, an overarching comment, I think we may be addressing, we're addressing an important concept, but we're skirting around the main question. The main question is, what is it about the Doctor Who fandom that makes people argue and as passionate and as zealous as they are over politics and religion? Yeah. Yes, it happens in Star Trek, it happens in Star Wars, but Doctor Who fans, this is a unique type of, it's nearly Protestant versus Catholic during the time of the Reformation, whenever you talk about whether or not you like Rose Tyler.
Wow.
So people get that heated. What is it about our fandom that caused someone to want to nail 99 Theses to the door about all the reasons they dislike the Moffat era?
And we definitely can talk about Moffat on another show in totality. But you know what? You're right. Whovians, Doctor Who fans, it's just a word. It's just a couple of words describing the same people. If you don't like the word Whovians, then, you know.
Well, I remember a few years ago, there was a group that was trying to get the name Whovian stricken from the fandom, and they preferred the word dweeks.
I'd
remember
rather
that?
be a Whovian than a dweek. I'll tell you.
Yeah, because dweek just sounds awful.
Okay.
Well, dweek sounds like a monster of the week from Classic Who.
It does, and that's actually interesting enough about Classic Who. That will be one of the things we're talking about in this show. So why don't we start with the first argument that we should stop having? Trish, could you go through that?
Yes, the first thing on the list was whether it's Doctor Who or the Doctor. A lot of people argue, whenever, even in like new fans, when they're first new to the fandom, they're always calling, him Doctor Who, and then people that have been fans for a long time are like, no, it's the Doctor. And to me, it's like, what a way to turn off a new fan. It's like, it doesn't, in my opinion, it really doesn't matter which way it goes. But I understand tradition, but
I don't think it does matter because, I mean, okay, if you go to the credits, when you show the credits of Classic Who, until we got to the John Nathan Turner era, the credit was Doctor Who and then the actor's name. It wasn't the Doctor. I mean, we switched that, and we switched it only because there were fans already back then complaining about it. And now that we have in New Who the fact that his real name is so important to what the Kraken time was and the Gallifrey coming back and all that stuff, Doctor Who became important again not to call him Doctor Who, or at least it was a question. And then, of course, Missy calling herself Doctor Who in that test that lost Pearl Mackie her chest.
Well, I would like to bring it back to something that I was mentioning earlier.
Okay.
Names have power.
Yes.
So, in the Christian New Testament, there's a point when their Christ said, "Who do you say that I am?" And that question was more important than just about any question he asked. And to a Whovian, to a Doctor Who fan, who is the Doctor to you? And that is why to call the Doctor by the correct name is so important, because we have so many emotions, so many feelings, so much honor is associated. Our self-identity, our worth is all measured by this icon. So therefore, to say it properly is not just to say the gentleman or gentle lady's name properly, it's to properly to address this universal truth, this axiom that we all look towards and make sure that we're doing it properly and with respect. So I believe it's a matter of respect, and that's why we're so vigilant about making sure we do it correctly.
Ken, but let me point out that Doctor Who or the Doctor is not his name. It's a name he gave himself. And in the Torah, in the Judaic religion, we are not allowed to say God's name. We are not allowed to actually say, we can only call him God or the Lord or, Which is what Doctor Who or the Doctor kind of is. Because Doctor Who is kind of, I mean, his powers, the fact that he's able to right wrongs and he has been so integral in the universe, the Doctor can be perceived as a god, and that's why you can only use Doctor Who or the Doctor. If we could use his name, then we should use his name. But we shouldn't argue over the Lord or the Keeper of Light or whatever we're going to call him. The argument over this is just a predilection of what you like, and that's, why should fans argue and get into fights about it?
Well, perhaps I misspoke.
No, you didn't misspoke.
I didn't say anything about what we should or shouldn't call him.
Right.
I'm saying why it's important, why we give so much importance to what to call him. And I think it's because we have so much respect for the concept and the individual. And that's why it means so much to us.
Okay. So, Ken,
and
is it Doctor Who or the Doctor?
Well, is it I Am? Is it Yahweh? Is it,
okay.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because it's the respect. It's thee versus thou.
Yes.
Like when Martin Buber translated the Old Testament, he came up with the conclusion that there are different ways that you communicate. When you communicate with respect, it's with thou. When you communicate with just to relay information, it's thee. So thou is for the greater than, for the divine. Mm-hmm. One could say that in the world of Doctor Who, that we view the Doctor as thou.
Yes.
And to that amount of respect, I believe, is why so many people will say things such as, if you're a true Whovian, you would call him the Doctor. Or if you're a true Whovian, you would never, ever turn against the Doctor despite his regeneration.
Right.
Because he means that much to all of us, because this is someone that has touched the minds and hearts of so many boys and girls and men and women for generation after generation. And that's a beautiful thing. So I think it's actually something that we all have in common. And sometimes we get lost in the forest.
Yes.
When we forget that we're all walking in the same woods and we're all respecting the trees and nature. And we're so glad that it gave us life. Mm-hmm. And somebody calls it an oak. Somebody else calls it a sycamore. But to everyone, it is the thing that gives us life and sustenance. And it's the show that's brought us all together and why we're talking here today.
Yeah. Ed, your thought?
Well, first of all, I mean, well spoken, Ken. That I probably would have never gone that deep. But for me, first of all, I think a little kindness could be afforded to, a newbie if they come in, if they start saying Doctor Who instead of the Doctor. Given the fact the show is called Doctor Who. So I can understand why someone would make the I don't want to say mistake, but the assumption. There you go. The assumption that the assumption that the character's name is Doctor Who. To me, I equate it kind of like when you have someone who's a non-fan of something, like let's say someone who's a non-fan of like comic books and sees you reading something about the Flash, and they go, well, that Flash Man guy, the speedster, it's just a little bit of not being a part of this and kind of not understanding. And I mean, I think then it just has to be a way of saying, okay, well, explaining kind of the difference between the show being called Doctor Who and the character being called the Doctor without coming off as like, how dare you? You've trampled on, something sacred, and you're not a true fan, and just turning it into something, rather kind of blasphemy punishable by torture type of thing.
I think with this particular topic, all of our language and our verbiage we're forced to use religious language because the fervor and the drive and the way that we view Doctor Who in the series, there's no better way to describe it than a indirect or direct metaphor to a cause, a faith, because that's the way many of us attach ourselves to it. And the show lends itself to it by the very name of the genetically engineered Gallifreyans, the Time Lords.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I remember when I first got into Doctor Who, and I remember, this was 5-6 years ago. I just remember when I joined all these Doctor Who Facebook groups, I was quickly taken to task for calling them Doctor Who. And so it's like ever since then, whenever I bring a new person into the fandom, I always say, make sure when you go on Facebook that you just call him the Doctor. Just trying to spare the person, the same crap that I had to endure, because boy, some people will bite your head off for that.
Trish, I think point 2 is something else that they might have taken a bite at you on, as well, don't you think?
Yeah.
Go with
Yeah,
point
that's
2.
true.
We'll go with point 2.
Okay, point 2 is whether classic Doctor Who is better than new Who.
Why are we arguing, folks? Why? I mean, there is a debate that you're not a true Whovian if you haven't seen the classic show. I don't think that's true. The new generation watches the new show, and it would be nice for them to watch the old show. There are hints about the old show during the new show, but it was actually a different show. We're talking about 25-minute serial episodes, kind of like the 1930s, from 1963 to 1989, with a lot of padding and low budgets, but definitely classical actors and good stories. And then we've got New Who starting in 2005, which a lot of them are standalone stories, and they have good special effects, and they're 45 minutes to an hour long. They're a different show. Why does one show have to be better than another? And this is what people are arguing about, and have been arguing about since New Who came on.
Well, I'm not sure if it's New Who or Old Who. I had an example on that.
Okay.
Is actually the idea of a rope.
All right.
When one binds a rope, they start with strands, and these strands are interwoven, and the same strands that are at the beginning of a 50-foot rope are not present at the end of a 50-foot rope, but it's still the same rope.
Yes.
It still has connections to the beginning. And you could say that they are different ropes, but it's truly the same rope.
Yeah.
And no matter if they have touched one part which has touched another, at least to me, I would add that idea to Doctor Who canon and to the continuity of the series. Though there may be disconnects, there's always something that touches back, that goes back to Hartnell.
Yeah,
and him
we
first
just had
emerging from the
that.
TARDIS.
We just had that in the Christmas special. They brought back a link to the original show.
absolutely beautiful thing. It's wonderful that we have a fandom like this.
Well, I know that when I started, I actually even still today, I haven't seen very many episodes of Old Who, but
And you have to work on that a little more. I started her working on it, but you need to work on that a little more with her.
Oh,
hey, I've had her see a bunch of Old Who. I mean, you know what?
Right.
The 50th anniversary was great in that they did, when they did those Doctor retrospectives.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I don't know, and I have nothing against the old episodes. Yeah, I mean, they're not as flashy and high tech as nowadays, but the stories are good.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that judge it based solely on the special effects, and to me, those are the ones that are not the true Whovians.
Yeah.
Come on, it's like look past that and see the true story, see the true spirit behind everything, and. No, I mean, the original series is wonderful, and I want to see all of it eventually.
Let's respect that history of the show. That whether we've seen it or not, let's respect it and admit that some shows are better than others. I mean, you talk about if I told you to watch Power of Kroll, which was the 5th story of the Key to Time series, you might watch it and never listen to me again. Or I may.
What are you talking about, Mark? That's not a terrible episode at all.
It's not a terrible episode, but the effects. If we're talking about the effects, the giant Kroll creature, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
If I told you to watch,
that's the Key to Time they should have left out.
Yeah. If I told you to watch Talons of Wang Chiang, great, beautiful episode. I love that episode so much. We got Jago and Lightfoot out of it for Big Finish. I mean, we it's a great story. But if that's the first one you've seen, and today you might go on, God, that was a racist story, and this and that, and you know, that was television at its time. They did, you know, and yeah, it was a little. There's a little bit of racism in there, but the Doctor didn't have the racism. The Doctor even points out that there shouldn't be something like that, which is what the Doctor is all about, or Doctor Who is all about.
I believe that, Mark, in the Talons of Wing Chiang, the sequel and the Missing Adventures.
Yes,
it's been a long time, but didn't they make up for a lot of that? That racism and cultural appropriation in that novel. It was like an apology for the bad things that they did in that episode.
Yeah. The books tried to fix things that they thought that, because a lot of the writers were fans, and they were fixing things that seemed to be wrong. With, you know, air quotes around that. Remember that from last show, Ed? Air quotes. Air quotes are wrong. Yeah, they did work on updating and fixing little things, and racism was one of the things they worked out in the sequel story.
And we haven't heard Ed's opinion on this yet.
Yeah, let's hear Ed. Ed, should people stop arguing about classic Doctor Who is better than New Who?
Yeah, basically, because I mean, it's both new and old, you know, have their pros and cons, and also I kind of get I get a little. This isn't just with Doctor Who, but with other things, I get a little. I do get a little touchy when somebody dismisses something offhand because the special effects, or something, not even bothering to look at the story. I mean, look at something like, let's go even further back than Power of Kroll. Let's look at the Aztecs.
Okay.
You have a good, you have a good story in there, and a really good, classic story about what it means to not mess with time, even if it's supposed to be for the greater good. No, Trish.
Sorry.
No.
I was going to do it.
No.
I was going to do it.
No. But,
well, just do whatever you're talking about now. Now I want to know what's happening.
Yeah, please tell us now that we've heard this.
Okay. Well, basically,
set it up, Eddie. Set it up.
Basically, there are things that happen whenever either of us says the greater good.
The greater good.
Shut it. There you go, Simon Pegg fans. A little something for you. Don't say we never give you anything. But getting back on the main point,
yes.
They collectively just called me and they thanked you. So, just let you know.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Thank you for passing the message along, Ken.
No problem, man. That's what AIM is for, man.
There you go. So yeah, getting back on the main point. Anywho, I do get a little. The Aztecs. We have a great story. No monster of the week, but it's a great, compelling story, and the sets are a little cheesy.
And all the ancient Aztecs are played by Shakespearean actors.
Well,
you think the BBC could afford to fly somebody over from?
Well, you don't have to fly someone over.
Well, several
in England who are of the descent.
The island only has 12 actors. I mean, like they don't have many people to choose from.
As in, every time they wanted someone who was Asian, Burt Quote got the job.
On the news show,
Doctor Who or any British show, really.
And now Clem So is the Asian man in every movie that we have now.
Yeah.
Every generation has that one Asian person.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Clem, I'm sure you know him, don't you, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, he actually is rather glad that he is the token Asian person. It's led to a great career for him. So he was quite okay with that.
All right. So, yeah, let's stop arguing about classic Doctor Who being better, or new Doctor Who being better than classic Doctor Who. It's the same show, different eras, different... Heck, even in New Who, you may not like a showrunner, and you might like one later. So, I mean, I'm going to get to that in just a little bit.
But see, Mark, if I can throw something in there, if I could throw something into this, okay, you have an episode like Genesis of the Daleks,
right?
And you have this great moment with the Fourth Doctor going toe to toe with Davros in a philosophical discussion. And, the whole thing of, what happens if you create like this little virus and it destroys the universe? And Davros just taking in the idea and being like, oh, that sounds awesome, and just loving it. So a moment like that, moments like the First Doctor and the Aztecs telling Barbara about you can't change history, not one line.
Right.
Things like that. Are they just automatically thrown away because that's a cardboard set, or the laser effects were in 80s? I mean,
we should have respect for, and I love those stories regardless of the set, regardless of the effects. I did love them, but I don't look down on anybody who doesn't watch classic Doctor Who. I encourage them to, but I don't look down on them. I show respect, and that's what.
Oh no, they don't. See, it's not a matter of saying, well, you have to watch classic Who. It's
just
I think my thing is more of just respect that it's okay not to get into the special effects, but at least try to see what's there beyond just the cheesy effects.
Well, interestingly enough, what you just brought up kind of tails us to point number 3. Trish?
Point number 3. Arguing over which Doctor is the best.
Tom Baker, no doubt. No, I'm just kidding. Tom Baker was really...
Lieutenant. No.
I did say it. He was my first. And you can allow yourself to think the best is your first. But the Doctor has changed. There are many good Doctors. You may not like a Doctor. That's all right. But don't argue and tell someone they have to like a specific Doctor. For God's sake.
Or if someone is like, because I know a lot of people that their favorite Doctor is Christopher Eccleston.
He was great too.
And he was great.
Show wouldn't have come back if it wasn't for him.
No.
Show would never have come
exactly,
back if it wasn't
but
for him.
I've been around groups of people where someone will say, well, Ninth Doctor is my favorite Doctor, and people will look at him and say, like, what? He was only around for one season, and his season wasn't that great. And I'm thinking, have you watched that season? And it boggles me that people will be so mean to someone just because they don't like the same Doctor they do, or they don't think the one that they love is the best one.
What's interesting is that we live in a time period where polarization, where left versus right, up versus down, opinion are very black and white. And in most segments of society and most parts of our culture, people are debating with much more fervor than I have seen in my lifetime. And I think that's carrying over that same strong feeling to our fandom. Like, how dare you say that about my Doctor? I'm right and you're wrong. And as Mark said earlier, arguments happen as opposed to discussions. And it would be wonderful that if more people could be in a group, and if the question was, who is your favorite Doctor and why? And they explained it, and then another person explained why their Doctor was their favorite, and a rapport was built, comparing, contrasting it, but respecting the other person for their opinions and their feelings. And that's something I think that we should strive for.
Discussion over arguing. I agree.
Yeah, and actually, several times today we've said that we've had, we'll argue over this or argue over that. I don't believe we've had a single argument this half hour. We've had quite a few discussions. And if I might add one more thing, in my opinion, you could merely just like the box of a Underground Toys action figure of Leela and you're a real Doctor Who fan. Because it is not our job or anyone's job to define what is a real fan. Because, like, who are we to say that? Who are we to say you are or are not a fan? So even saying that, that's a degree of arrogance and hubris that I'm not worthy of that. I don't know if Terrence Dix is worthy of that.
You make a valid point there. Okay, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we are going to go over the rest of these things that we don't really think you should argue about, that maybe you could discuss and have a good conversation over. This segment of Mark Who 42 has been sponsored by Cosplay Convention Center. You can find more information by clicking the link on markwho42.net. They are a database for cosplayers, for anyone who works in the convention limelight. If you're looking for us, we're there. They have a database that narrows down where we're going to be. If you're looking for Doctor Who conventions in your area, this is a place to look. If you're looking for certain people going to conventions, you can find them there too. This database is amazing, and it's wonderful to use if you need to find out about your favorite genre, your favorite podcasts, your favorite professional cosplayers. Check out the Cosplay Guide. Again, you can find their link on markwho42.net. We will be right back with more of Mark Who 42 right after this.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
I did my Christmas shopping and I got my girlfriend the Peter Capaldi crystal carving at DoctorWhoCrystals.com. And you should go there too. They've got official BBC licensed crystal carvings of all the Doctors inside of a crystal carving of a TARDIS. They are actual crystal and they are beautiful. They've got every Doctor to choose from and they're only $100. They're not that expensive. So do what I did and get your spouse happy by buying them a crystal carving from DoctorWhoCrystals.com. You know, I might buy the War Doctor one for myself. Jamie Engel is an award-winning author of science fiction and horror novels and stories. The Toilet Papers, a book that she wrote, is a collection of short stories ranging from 50 words to more than 5,000 to match your bathroom needs. But here are some other facts that you may not know about her. She cosplays Marty McFly Jr., Wonder Woman, Garth from Wayne's World, and Trinity from The Matrix. She speaks to kids about bullying and to authors about writing and marketing their books. She once owned a body shop, managed a hip-hop band, and danced at the Aloha Bowl halftime show. Wow, that's really cool. But without coffee, the world would end. So definitely you should read some of Jamie Engel's work, and you can if you go to her website, therighteangle.com. THEWRITEENGLE.com. And don't forget, follow her on Instagram at therighteangle. Hey Iggy.
Yes?
You know, I know that you started watching Doctor Who as a newbie, with the new show, but have you gotten a chance to watch all 7 classic Doctors in action?
I have not.
Well, you can find the most complete collection of Doctor Who ever broadcast in the U.S. on Retro TV.
Shut the front door. Are you serious?
I'm serious, and you don't even need cable for this. This is over-the-air television. You have an HD antenna. You can watch around the country Retro TV. Many of the stories have been remastered and enhanced from their original film and videotape elements, so they come out beautifully perfect in HD.
Mind blown.
It's free. You just have to go to your TV and find Retro TV, and you can watch all the great Doctor Who. They show 2 episodes Monday through Friday, and they show more than that.
I think I shall get my pajamas and my Ben & Jerry's then.
And recently they've added new stories. Not new stories as in like they've made new stories, but new stories that they haven't had in rotation, such as several Patrick Troughton tales that weren't on before. They're adding them to them. So there's more to watch because, those new stories became available. Web of Fear and Enemy of the World. So they've added things like that.
Oh my, I'm excited.
So don't forget to go and look for Retro TV and watch Doctor Who. You can go to retrotv.com and look for their schedule for exactly when Doctor Who is on in your area.
I'm logging in as we speak.
Mark Who 42 is proud to have Famous Faces and Funnies as a sponsor of our show. They have literally tons and tons of comic books, novelties, and everything. They're located off of 3020 New Haven Avenue in West Melbourne. If you want to give them a call, let them Mark Who 42 sent you. You can call them at 321-258-3575. But they are a huge store. I mean, you've seen comic stores, but this one is kind of like the Costco of comic stores. They have tons of merchandise. It's incredible. You can go from one store, then there's another section and another section. They have tons and tons of stuff there for you to buy. If you have any geekdom out there, Famous Faces and Funnies has got it. Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything. Rick, the guy who runs it, real great guy. You definitely want to check out Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida.
Hi, I'm Fraser Kuhl from Cops and Monsters.
And I'm Ines Anderson, also from Cops and Monsters.
And you are listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome back to more of Mark Who 42 here on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me are our co-hosts, Trish Freyre and Ken Spivey, and guesting with us, Trish's lovely husband, Eduardo M. Freyre. Thanks for coming back after last week. Iggy wasn't able to make it this week, so we wanted to have an extra person, and you are definitely someone, because you and Trish were on the show from the beginning up to a point.
Well, you're definitely someone, Ed. That's what he just said.
You are someone.
And also and you're quite lovely, in fact. You're
quite lovely. Yeah.
Well, I think so too.
But well, I can argue on that subject, but I won't, because that's what this subject is all about.
You're making me overclapped. I'll give you a topic.
Amongst ourselves.
He has the vapors. He has the vapors.
Maybe we should talk amongst ourselves then. So we are talking about the op-ed that was on our website on January 10th, Things Whovians Should Stop Arguing About. And we've got 5 here. We've talked about the first 3. Let's go to point 4. Trish, and this one is probably the one that you have to hold back on, but go ahead.
Point number 4. Whether Russell T. Davies was better than Stephen Moffat.
Or the
other way around. Yeah. Vice versa.
Well, the main question is, in what sense?
That's a good point. I want you to talk about that, Ken. What sense should we talk about this?
One sense you could talk about it is in the way that they handled gender. Mm-hmm. There's a text called Triumph of the Time Lord that I'm quite a fan of.
Right.
In that text, wasn't it Miles who wrote that? I can't recall. It was a pop cultural philosopher from England. He made the point that in the Russell T. Davies era, pansexuality, homosexuality, various gender topics, transgendered, they were issues because he never made them an issue.
Right.
Because they merely happened and they existed.
Yes.
And they were accepted. And quite a few people have criticized Moffat, and actually Miles started this movement. The fellow from Triumph of the Time Lord brought this up, that for a great deal of the times when homosexuality or anything other than traditional cisgendered concepts come up, it's the punchline of a joke. It's an overemphasized plot point. It's thrown in your face. And by making it an issue, it takes away from its normalcy and makes it obviously something that should be pointed out as different. And that was something at Dragon Con for about 5 or 6 years when myself and Alan Seiler of Timegate, Hulanda now, when we led that, we always went back to that is that we had a tough time with the Moffat era just because of how he dealt with gender, and it was kind of in a ham-fisted sort of way. So that's a way that they differ, and that's one way that I believe Russell T Davies was, at least in my opinion, superior in handling those particular social ideas by making the issue not an issue.
Okay. Well, now here's something else. You brought up one way that could show a better or not. And again, we're discussing, not arguing, and discussion is fine. That's the whole point of the show. This discussion is great. But writing styles, I think that Stephen Moffat wrote some very good episodes. My problem with Stephen Moffat was the overall arc and the way he ran the show. That doesn't mean that Russell T Davies didn't have some problems running his show, and there were some things I didn't like. But let's go back. Let's go back to John Nathan Turner. John Nathan Turner, a lot of people will argue, and they will argue, that he was the worst thing for Doctor Who. And if you think about it, the show did kind of die under his personage. But I got to tell you, I knew the real man, and he was definitely a good person. And his style, he was catering to fans. Now, that may or may not have been the right thing. Probably not the right thing because the show got canceled. But he loved the show, and he wanted continuity. He wanted to make the fans like it. But the way he ran the show was for fans who already were fans, and then he was losing some of them because they didn't like the way he was doing it. He wasn't being open for doing mainstream enough productions to get new people in, and I think that's what made him flop. But, Stephen Moffat definitely got more people in to Doctor Who to watch it. Russell T Davies got more people. So, I mean, you can say with anything. Barry Letts, the producer during the Pertwee era. People definitely didn't know what to make of this when it started because John Pertwee, who was under his wing, was a comedian. But John Pertwee played it straight, and the Letts era was certainly a very good era, but I can't say it was the best. I don't think any particular era is better in all things. I think every era has its good points, every era has its bad points. And you shouldn't make a definitive, hey, he was the best. I mean, I guess you can say he is the best because that's your opinion. But you shouldn't force your opinion on anyone else.
If I can throw in something, Mark.
Okay.
If you're going to make the claim that, Moffat's the best, no, John Nathan Turner's the best, no, Barry Letts was the best, what's the criteria that you're working with?
And that's kind of
what Ken it's like,
said at the beginning of this
why
part.
Do you say, yeah? I mean, what's your criteria? Why, what are you basing this off of? I mean, do you base it off ratings? Do you base it off how this person catered to the fans? Do you base it off how this person didn't cater to the fans and catered to new people? If you're going to make that claim, what are you basing it off of? Where are you coming from?
Eduardo, what litmus would you use? What test would you use?
Okay, see that? That's kind of
test.
Okay, that's kind of tricky. I think. Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I would say that how did they do their job as far as bringing people in, who were not fans, while at the same time respecting the classic fans? Like, you can't please everybody all the time, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you don't make an effort. And one of my criteria would be, how did they do as far as making an effort to do so? There are, I may be mistaken, but I've seen stuff where it feels to me like they did not respect class. This is with a lot of things, not just, we're not strictly talking Doctor Who, but, where I see where a writer really doesn't want to think about what classic fans would feel about this. And it's just like, well,
Star Trek? Just saying.
You know what? I'm not going to. I am not going to. Yeah.
He's talking sliders.
Oh,
Only
he's sucking
Sliders.
Sliders. Hey, I gotta tell you, except for the fact that Fox went with Sliders over Doctor Who in 1996, I did like the first couple of seasons of Sliders. I thought it was a great show. It got kind of yucky at the end, but it was a good show in the beginning.
As far as Sliders concerned, I think where things got a little off the rails is as people started leaving the show, then trying to find a way to keep things going, and it's like, okay, oh crap, Jerry O'Connell's gone. Wait, okay, so we're gonna bring in this new guy and say that he's this merged alternate universe version of Jerry O'Connell and his brother. There you go. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Man stayed the whole show. That was important.
Yeah. But as far as criteria, it's like it's one of those things that as far as critique in general, it gets weird because it's like, okay, what do you go with? Like, what do you what is supposed to be the accepted way that we're going to look at this? Oh, and truth be told, and I'm probably going to get my head bitten off for this. It's like there really isn't a right answer. Different things mean different things to different people, and there's no kind of universal standard. I mean, there are some things that are universally accepted or not, but as far as something like this, as far as critiquing, a creative effort, there is no right answer.
On the other hand, most of my life, I lived like a lot of guys do, with all the gender norms, like you're supposed to. Like I avoided bright colors and pink and all of that, and like I'm a man, I don't like that. And also, I played in punk bands. Everything had to be edgy and grunge. Yeah. Well, later on in life...
played in a punk band, too, yeah.
Yeah, well, later on in life, I got my first house, and I came to grips with that orange and pink are two of my favorite colors. So I bought everything. I painted my entire living room orange, which was wonderfully bright and happy. And a lot of things that I owned were pink. And because it was my opinion. And I realized that who was I to kowtow my opinion to that of others? And does it really matter? And accepting the fact that you do have your own opinion, and especially in our fandom, we're not trying to fit in. You don't have to fit in with the fellow fans. You could do whatever you like in the fandom.
Yeah.
And you could even go so far as to say, I really focus only on Silurian female rights.
Yeah, why not?
And you don't have to focus on who's the favorite doctor. And you don't have to follow the trend that 10 is incredibly popular, so you have to love 10. Well, you can like pink. You can like orange. You can like dark blue. You can like whatever you like, because opinions are one of those beautiful personal things. And the fact that all of us here today and everyone listening has one is one of the reasons, and that we're accepting of it, is one of the things that we actually do have in common, I believe, as Uvians. We do accept those other opinions. The Doctor accepts those other opinions.
Yes, definitely. And that totally brings us to number 5. Trish?
Point number 5, whether it's okay to criticize episodes.
Of course it
is. Which this one, it's like, of course it is. You can't just blindly say all Doctor Who episodes are wonderful, because we all know they're not. And it said in the paragraph that Michelle wrote that it was
Michelle Turner,
people,
everybody who's the editor of our website.
That people are saying that you need to not criticize it because the BBC might see it and cancel the show. It's just like,
yeah, the BBC is really paying attention to your little Facebook page, I'm sure. Yeah.
No,
and I shouldn't have said that. That was kind of rude. But you know what I'm saying. It's not like they're doing that. They might have a few pages being watched, but not everyone's.
No, and they're not going to cancel this massively popular show over some internet opinions.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the ratings did go downhill, and the fact that they're doing a soft reboot, they are doing that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, though, about the fact that you say the ratings went down, the amount of people who watched it went down, but if you look at the percentage and where it was in the top 20 of BBC programming, the show did not lose percentage-wise. They were still doing almost as good as the Matt Smith stories. It's just that there were less people watching television at the time that they aired it.
With all the DVRs and the BBC iPlayer and stuff.
They also include the iPlayer into it, but the problem is, you go somewhere, you do things other than watch TV. People who do torrents, you're ruining the numbers there, just by the way. And that was in England only. In America, I think the BBC America ratings, especially for the Christmas episodes, were spectacular recently.
And also, a lot of the new Who fans that came on board, especially here in America, when it was Tennant and especially Matt Smith, a lot of those Fairweather fans went away when they announced that Peter Capaldi was going to be the 12th Doctor.
He's
old.
Yep. There you go.
Let's say something here. During Peter Capaldi's regeneration, the 12th Doctor said, "Be kind." Now, shouldn't we as Whovians take that to heart and be kind to each other and to fandom as a whole? Definitely, you can have discussions. You can talk about the show. But don't hate someone or don't block them from a group because they have a different opinion than you. Yeah. It's not necessary to drag things out from behind a proverbial woodshed. Just as we expect people around us to have patience, we should do the same. And, we now have a female Doctor coming in. That's going to be an amazing thing if the stories are right and they don't write it as Benny Hill type situations because she's a woman now. And I don't think Chris Chibnall's going to do that. I think it's just a progression of the show, a new aspect. Every Doctor has been a new type of Doctor. And so a female Doctor shouldn't matter. In fact, I don't like even saying that we're having the first female Doctor. I like saying we're having a new Doctor. And she's female, but so what?
What I'm concerned with is not her regeneration, but the ones to follow.
Okay.
What controversy will happen if they regenerate back into a man? Are they
that
being
will be a
sexist
problem.
now?
That will cause problems.
This is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And now is the Doctor permanently going to be a woman? And I think we're actually seeing not the immediate problem, but the one in the future. In addition, if Whittaker, either as her character, her acting ability, the writing, no matter what it is, fans tend to take that out on the actual actress and not the production staff and the writing and the lighting and so forth. So she better be good, or else we're not getting another female Doctor.
Well, and that's a
20
good
years.
thing. She has to be good.
That's a lot of pressure.
And even if we go back to a male Doctor, the real thing will be the eventual, if it happens, second female Doctor. Because then we will have proven, okay, it does exist, it is part of the continuity, it wasn't a mistake, it can be anybody. So, yeah, Jodie is going to have a tough time ahead of her with some people. And even after she leaves, there'll be things about her that say, well, see, it didn't work. But when we have the second female Doctor, then I think all of the badness that people are thinking this is going to be, it'll be moot. It'll be moot.
Well, unless the second female Doctor comes in, and whoever that is, that we get the nightmare scenario that that you just mentioned and I've mentioned before, where it becomes more about fan servicey, making sure that exactly that this is a female Doctor. So, like for example, a plunging neckline, or the costumes like tight enough that you can see, the butt or something like that. Or of course we have the episode on the Bikini Planet,
Yeah, we don't need that. We had
Zoe
that in Star
adjusting
Trek
things
Next Generation, and I thought that was totally wrong for the show in the first season. Do you remember that episode where Wesley walks into a place where he's not supposed to walk into a box where a plant is growing, but all the people on that planet are wearing like nothing? Remember that episode?
What are you talking about?
Star Trek Next Generation.
Are you talking about? Oh, Next Gen. The one with the. Okay, yeah.
Even I knew he was talking about Next Gen. What's wrong with you guys?
And
I don't even watch that show.
I don't know, but okay, I get. Yeah.
We don't want that kind of stuff. The important part is we definitely can discuss problems we have with the show. We can definitely discuss things we love about the show, but let's not be hurtful.
And see, Mark, getting to the point of the question, it's not, you're not betraying the show by not liking something, by being critical of like, well, I didn't like this episode. Well, I didn't think this episode was, on par with the rest of the series. I actually think that you are, as much as I hesitate to use the term real fan, but I think that you're a better fan if you are willing to criticize, because for the show to really do its best, you have to be able to say, well, I gotta be honest, I didn't like this.
Yes.
I
did not like Rings of Akaton, and people were upset about that. But no one on the show liked it. But that doesn't mean we didn't like bits of it. I thought the speech was a wonderful speech.
Or we may have not liked Rings of Akaton, but we loved Heaven Sent and Hell Bent.
Yeah.
We love the Doctor dances the empty child. There are bits of Onion Rings of Akaton that we like. Rings, it's not. It's okay. It's okay to say, well, I didn't like this. Like, honestly, Sleep No More. I was not a big fan of Sleep No More. That does not make me a bad person. That's not like you're not a true Whovian. GTFO. Yeah. It's just this one episode that I happen to not enjoy. It's okay to not enjoy something. It's okay to have.
Even though last episode everyone who was on it seemed to really love the Christmas episode, I know there are people who did not like Twice Upon a Time.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you, Ken. But you weren't on the show back then. You should have came on a week earlier. We could have had some good discussion.
Yeah. Apparently, I saw things that nobody else saw.
You saw things that nobody saw, and we saw things that you didn't see. So, because we've had a discussion on this, and we know. But there are people who didn't like it. Well, that's fair. You don't have to like everything.
I listened to your podcast. I actually agreed with everything. Actually, you guys gave a wonderfully insightful commentary on that.
Yeah.
Just, I had a few things that I disliked about it. On the other hand, the fact that so many fans liked it, and I love Doctor Who so much, that made me happier than whether I liked it, honestly. Right. I want everyone to like it, even if I dislike it, because I don't want another Wilderness Years. I lived Wilderness Years.
No.
Until Fox does another TV movie. Wait again. I'll take anything other than another long, dark tea time of the soul without Doctor Who on air.
So definitely, folks, it's okay to criticize episodes. It's okay to criticize showrunners. It's okay to criticize which Doctor is best. But don't do it in an angry way. Don't criticize. Discuss. That's all Mark Who 42 is asking for.
Well, and you know what? To quote the opening to Mystery Science Theater, sometimes you repeat to yourself, it's just a show, and I really should relax.
Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah. Okay. So we're up to the point of the show where we do our convention reports. And our first convention story, I'm going to let Ken do because it's Ken's convention.
My wife and I run a Doctor Who one-day festival that's taken place in multiple cities in the 2 states. And altogether we've held maybe 12 or 15 of these. And they're very much, as Mark put forth once, because they're definitely not a traditional convention. It's a celebration.
Yes.
It's a time for fans to come together and have fun with other Doctor Who fans, while at the same time we give a very large amount of the proceeds, roughly 25%, to the Live Strong Cancer Survivor Program. So this year, our theme is actually we're supporting and emphasizing the performing arts. So we shall have aerial acrobats dressed as companions and doctors. We will have Doctor Who themed belly dance, musical performers. We will have a couple of guests from the show there, and it's a really fun event. It's going to be January 20th.
There's someone else who's going to be there too, I think.
Yes.
I can't remember his name.
Louis Robinson.
Oh, that wasn't the name I was looking for, but yeah, he's going to be there.
Louis Robinson is going to be there. He's going to be our guest of honor this year.
Yeah, but I was talking about someone else. Someone else whose voice can be heard right now as he's speaking.
Oh,
God? God, is that you?
No, not God.
Well, Mark is going to be
I'm
there.
going to be there. Thank you. I've been saying it
Mark,
every week on the show, and I was like, what, Mark's not going now? No, I'm coming.
Well, Mark, when you're running an event, it's very difficult to hear everybody on every stage.
Yes.
And at this one, we're only going to be running 3 stages in tandem. Sometimes we run up to 6. I think the last one in Jacksonville, I finally got to hear most of a panel with Mark. And Mark was astounding. And I said, Mark, you're going to do a lot more. The fans loved him. His approach was unique. I really loved the way he engaged the crowd. So, Mark, get ready to get you. Make sure you wear comfortable shoes because
I will wear comfortable shoes. I hope I'm going to have.
We're going to work you.
I hope I'll have something to do with cosplay again and get to help judge again because that was fun.
You shall be. We're not doing the pre-judging, but we're going to have the costume contest at the end, and you definitely are one of the judges in that.
Thank you very much.
Of course. So it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you at our event, a completely family-owned and operated event that's mostly for charity, and it's not quite like any Doctor Who experience you've been to. So come on and join us. It's rather fun. Look for it on Facebook, Time Lord Fest.
Yes, and it's on Sunday, January 28th, between 11 and 7 at the Event Factory, which is at 7565 Hillsborough Avenue in Tampa, Florida. Tickets are available, and if you came to our wonderful New Year's Eve party that we had a couple of weeks ago that Ken threw, the Time Lord New Year's Eve Bash thing, you have a ticket to this event. Right?
Yeah, it turns out we actually hit 350 people at that. It was more than we thought.
It was
so
fun.
It was a lot of people came to that event. So everybody who came to that at New Year's Eve, you get in free to Time Lord Fest. So we did Time Lord Ball as kind of just an extra thank you gift to everybody who's coming to Tampa. And we can't thank you guys enough for supporting our little fan-run event that sometimes is not so little.
And then, on President's Weekend, I am going to be at Galley 1. So are you, Trish and Ed. We're not actually panelists, but we are going as punters. This will be my first Galley this year. How many? You guys have done it before, haven't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did last year.
Yeah, this will be our second time.
Well, it should be fun.
And hey, we'll have Trish and I will have ribbons.
I have ribbons too.
Oh, there you go. So we'll have ribbons. Yeah.
So I can give you a ribbon. You can give me a ribbon. Let's go.
And we can give other people a ribbon.
I will be getting some pictures. I already pre-ordered tickets for pictures, and whether I love them or hate them, I have one with Stephen Moffat.
Nice.
So, and of course Sophie and Sylvester together, because Sophie's my girlfriend. What can you say? No, but seriously, we've already worked that out. That was on an older show, and the restraining order's gone, and it's good. It's all good. No, okay. And of course, the following weekend, I will also be appearing as Mark 42 at Comic-Con Revolution West Palm Beach. That will be on Saturday, February 24th at the West Palm Beach Convention Center. There are going to be some great guests there, including the 1989 Batmobile, which I will have an interview with the next show. No, but that will be there. Who's going to be there? Adam Troy Castro, a local writer who I know personally will be one of the guests. Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Men, who I did a panel with on podcasting about 4 or 5 years ago. He'll be there. Chris Claremont, the guy who brought back the Uncanny X-Men when it was gone during the end of the 70s. He brought it back in the 80s, and God knows where the X-Men are now. A lot of other people from comics, Paul Jenkins, Greg Land, Hope Larson, And Ron Mars will be there as well, and Richard Starkings, too.
What panels shall you be hosting at this event?
I will be hosting a panel on Series 10 and the Christmas episode. It will be interactive, so you can give your thoughts as well. And we're going to bring Molly B. Marcus, someone who's in my Weekend TARDIS group, is going to be one of the people that I brought in to be a panelist. And we should have at least one other panelist that I am working on as we speak. It's going to be a fun convention. It's their first in Florida. They've done one already in Ontario, California. And that wraps up our show, guys. Oh, this was a good show. I liked it. Thanks to Michelle Turner for writing the original op-ed piece for the website. Any final words from the Peanut Gallery?
No, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. There are no final words from Peanut Gallery. How dare you bring that up?
I have a peanut allergy, so I'm offended by that.
Trish?
You can give me all the peanuts you want. I love peanuts.
You can have all the peanuts. Well, you've got one sitting next to you on the other computer.
Excuse you?
So, next week is going to be a great show.
I'm not old enough to listen to this.
Next week is going to be a great show. We've got Victoria Price, Vincent Price's daughter. She's going to talk all about Vincent Price's life and her wonderful life as well. You will learn many things, and we will have her next week here on Mark Who 42. Have TARDIS will travel, everyone. Bye.
And next time, the price is right.
Oh,
Good night.
Going there? Are we going there? Hi, I'm Johnny Olsen, and no, I guess he's dead. I can't do him. Hi, No, Don Parda's not there either. I can't do it.
Tell you what, let's get away from the Price is Right, and we'll just say good night and good luck.
There you go. And bye, everyone. Mark Who 42 has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Iggy Matthews, Ken Spivey, Zion Heroes, and Trish Freyre. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten. Visit markwho42.net, where you can register and become part of the Whoniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42, subject line, ? You can have Mark Who 42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/markwho42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. Mark Who 42 is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten 2018. This is Krypton Radio.